Back again.
What's going on?
With the final episode.
Wow.
We made it.
Last go around on this story.
5 weeks.
Week 5, that's
Week
crazy.
5, yeah. Of what to do when you don't know what to do. All right. But as always, we're going to jump into some worship, and Roman's going to pray.
God, we love you. Thank you for just taking us through this awesome story of Joseph. Lord, I thank you for just all the examples that we can learn from his story and how we see we're going to go through things in life. We're going to go through ups and downs. But as we see tonight, Lord, I pray that we would seek you through all of those things and never lose sight of you. And as we're going to see tonight, Lord, how Joseph chooses peace. I pray that we would choose peace in our lives and choose to honor you through those decisions, Lord. We love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Here, moving in our midst, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst, I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place, I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are.
Cool. Well, Payback's
Payback is something.
today's all about Payback.
It's about Payback.
That's
yeah.
what we're doing.
If you guys don't know, Dallas loves Payback.
Dude, I didn't think I had a problem with Payback until I started reading over this, and I was like, dude, I have a serious problem that I need to work through.
I could have told you that.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
like, but see, like most people, I'm justifying right now.
Yeah.
Most people, when they're done wrong, you know, it's like, you know, you do everything. It consumes your thoughts. You want to do everything to get payback. It's like justice for you. Like someone hurts you, you want to do everything you can to hurt them.
Yeah.
Right. That's not really the case with me. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not like that.
All right.
Mine's more of like very passive and very. I want to see you fail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's bad.
Like, okay.
Like my kids, we'll just use this for them for an example. Obviously, I'm gonna keep them safe, so I'm not gonna let them do anything stupid. But if like Wesley's super stubborn, like the most stubborn, and so when you tell him not to do something, and he pouts about it, I'm like, well, go ahead, do it, see what happens. And just knowing that whatever he's doing, he's gonna fail at it.
Like I could stop you from doing that, but like,
But
I'll just let you. I'll let it
I'm
play
gonna
out.
let you touch the electric fly swatter. Go ahead, see how it feels.
I'm gonna let you put the fork into the outlet.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's only
terrible.
gonna shock you a little bit. Wesley's actually done that multiple times. The thing with like my kids are so different. Like Cooper, he would try to touch the outlets.
Yeah.
I would yell at him. Never ever got near an outlet again. It was like dad voice, and he would melt.
The fear of God.
Dude, into him for sure. Wesley, on the other hand, dude, like I tell him no, and he just is like,
Should I do it?
you know, like, and I'm like, bro, you literally just touched it 5 minutes ago, and you've been screaming ever since, and now he's gonna do it again.
my
Like,
gosh.
we were remodeling our house, and so like outlets, we were painting, so outlets covers were off, and so like. He actually shocked himself a couple times.
my
Like, he didn't touch it
gosh,
with metal.
yeah.
Like I don't know how he shocked himself, but
Touching live wires.
I'm like, bro, like we just told you not to do that. You did it. It hurt you.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go back to it. Like,
Crazy.
but that's what I like to see. Unfortunately,
I-
it's like when you give advice so much, and you're just like, hey, you know, this is what you should do. This is the better option for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do this. And you know, people leave your office or people leave the conversation. You're like, yeah, that's great. Thank you for the advice. And then they don't do it.
Do the exact opposite.
The exact opposite. And then they come back and they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, I told you what you should do. Yeah, but I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's really your only option at this point. You can try it or don't, but I'm going to watch you fail again. And you're going to come back to me again.
Yeah. Well, if you can't tell, Dallas likes a very specific type of payback. And we're talking about payback tonight. And payback, so like for me, payback, when you think about payback, okay, maybe paying someone back for something good,
it's not always bad.
Payback's usually a good thing, right? For me, there's like this time, okay, so like my truck, for those of you who know, I've had some problems with my truck. Loretta's she's had a long road. But so a while back, my truck was like broken down here at the church, and I, like for days, like I didn't know how to.
We just drove it over here
you
together.
were there. Yeah.
And then it wouldn't start after you dropped me off.
Yeah, exactly. So it wouldn't start for like days. So it was like I just left it here, and eventually I was like, okay, I can't get it to start. So I called up my buddy. He's really good with cars, and so I was like, hey, could you come over and check it out? So he of course comes over, and like starts it up like right away. I was like, okay, it's kind of like the like. Did you try the power button?
You're right.
Like,
right.
You know? So he came, he started it up, and he like checked it out. He brought his whole like computer thing. He was like diagnosing all the problems. I was like,
You can diagnose that truck?
Yeah, I know. It actually has a plug-in thing. So he like figured it all out, and he's like, hey, it's running. Let's just get it back to your house. He even like followed me back to my house, like so that it wouldn't die on me on the way over there. So we get it to my house, and I'm like, okay, sweet, thank you. Like, let me pay you for like what you did.
What do I owe you?
Yeah, what do I owe you? He's like, no, don't worry about it. You're good. Like, just get it running. You know, like spend money to get it running, get it fixed. He's like, don't worry about it. I was like, sweet. Like I was expecting to pay him for that kind deed.
Yeah.
So like usually like when someone does something for you, you usually expect to like some sort of like payment in return,
Yeah.
like a payback for that service or that whatever they offered to you. So payback isn't always a bad thing, right?
But now you owe him.
But now I owe, now I'm gonna get a call from him. Like, hey,
exactly.
could you come get me?
Which is good.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's
definitely.
fine. I'd much rather do that. You
Yeah.
know? People helping people. I mean,
Definitely.
That's the way it should go.
That's right. Good deed after good deed.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Pay it forward.
Right. So
Yeah.
paying it forward, like paying someone back for something, isn't always like a bad thing if it's meant for good. But as we see tonight, we're talking about payback. And there's multiple types of payback, like you said. You know, there's that public payback, which I think, like you were saying, I don't think I like payback. Like I don't think I like to like, you know, I need justice for what was done to me. Like I've never been big on that, but I think now that I'm thinking more of it and like I'm looking more into it, it's kind of like you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm more of like the public payback type of person. Like okay, if someone like said something to me and like humiliated me, I'm gonna like roast them in front of all their friends or something, like get them back, you know? Like,
see, for me, like I'm waiting, like sure that might happen, but I want them to feel like I'm not gonna pay them back and then get them back.
Days later.
way later. Let it just stew for a long time and then be like, all right, I figured it out.
So
I know the perfect payback.
So there's a public payback, there's a Dallas payback where it's
Very
a little
passive,
more passive, subtle. Then there's that imaginary payback that I do this a lot too, right? I kind of play it over in my head. It's like, man, like if I ever do come across that person, this is what I'd say to them.
You're just
I'm
sitting
like,
in the shower.
Yeah,
You're like, what would I do?
Whitney comes in. She's like, "What are you? Who are you talking to?"
Man, if I had that argument again, I would.
Exactly. So there's like that imaginary payback that is almost worse.
It's probably the worst
because it takes over your thoughts. You're like, man, and it just shows how much that whatever happened to you, that conversation, that argument, it shows how much that really affected you because you're allowing it now to like
now you're
your
driving
time.
around in your car by yourself having fake
Venting
arguments
to yourself.
People are like driving up like,
why is he so mad? But anyways, so
that's the kind of payback too that we see in like all TV shows or like movies. Like there's so many movies, like we actually love payback a lot more because it's drama, dude. It builds. So like when you see a movie or you see a TV show where somebody was done wrong towards the beginning and the whole movie is based on that payback, you see like how much it just consumes them.
Yeah.
And like that's not just movies. That's real life. Like when somebody does something wrong to you that really hurts you or really offends you or whatever, like you allow that just to consume your thoughts until I get the payback that I deserve or I get the justice I deserve and I'm not going to sleep, eat, breathe, think anything else until that happens.
And honestly, like if you've been in that situation where, like, because sometimes that payback, that it never happens, right? And we can live our lives like searching and like feeding off of that anger or that pain because we want that payback. But sometimes it never happens and it can kind of consume us. But sometimes that payback happens right then and there, and it feels good. Like in that moment, it feels like, man, justice is served. Right? It's like, man, they got what they deserve. They like harm was done to them just like it was done to me, and it might feel good in that moment. But then like usually later on, it's like, okay, usually there's some sort of regret or like further pain or further problems that happen because of that.
Yeah, now that a relationship that was just kind of on the rocks is now done.
It's for sure done.
Yeah. And now, unfortunately, now you have to apologize.
Yeah.
For this whole time, you're like, I just want them to apologize to me. Now you've done something so wrong and now it turns and now you have to apologize to them.
Definitely.
Dude, when I was interning with junior high, I used to tell this joke on our way to Hume because it's one of those jokes that you just take and you tell it as long as you possibly can. But the whole idea of the joke was this little boy who was obsessed with clowns, Bilbo the Clown.
Okay.
Specifically.
Wow.
And and he is obsessed with it. You talk about his obsession with this clown, and then he has a birthday party. Bilbo comes to it, and he treats him like garbage, right? And so then you tell a 20-minute long story about how this kid has his whole life set on paying Bilbo the Clown back.
Yeah.
Right? And so you just build it. He goes to college. He does all these things. Everything he does is dedicated to getting Bilbo the Clown back. Dude, everything. And so you just keep building. And then kind of towards the end, you talk about how Bilbo the Clown has this like anniversary, his last show ever. He's coming back just to do one more show as a thing, and that's like the perfect opportunity for you to get the justice that he needs. And so then you get to the very end of the story, and they're kind of a face-off. Like he comes down from the crowd and stands in front of Bilbo the Clown, and you build the tension, build the tension, build the tension.
It's building.
And then you just go, and then he goes, or when he finally meets Bilbo, all he does is look at him and says, "Shut up, clown." And that's the end of the joke. That's the end, dude. You tell like a 25-minute joke just to get to the punchline of "shut up, clown." But everyone is so just like, what is going to happen?
Yeah.
Something crazy is going to happen.
God.
And that's like, because everyone loves this idea of payback, whether you like to admit it or not.
And just the suspense of like,
Right, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Like, every good movie's based on it, every good TV show's built on it. And this story that we've been following is the
For
perfect,
5 weeks.
For 5 weeks is a perfect example. I mean, we have a guy, Joseph, who got to sit in prison for 2 years
For doing nothing.
For doing nothing. Like, what are you thinking about? I'm going to get my brothers back for putting me in this situation.
Yeah.
Justice will be served to these guys. My dream of them bowing down to me is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so everything is building, you would think. But that's not the case.
Yeah.
Right? This whole thing is building up to like justice is going to be served to these brothers. Like even if you read it as a story or you watch it as a movie, like that's what you're thinking. You know? And if you're a good director or a producer, that's what you're going to build
would
this
play
story.
on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're going to build that tension as much as you can. Unfortunately, that's not how the story ends for them. So they wouldn't be able to. It'd be like, "Shut up, clown." It's nothing, you know.
It's like, I love
you build. All right. And so that's where we're going to jump into the story today. If you've been following us, Joseph is an annoying kid by his brothers, and instead of just doing the normal thing that brothers do and just like beat him up or tie him up or something, they throw him in a pit.
Throw him in a pit, yeah.
Throw him in a pit, then sell him into slavery.
Yep.
Then he goes and he's Potiphar's slave, right? In a good position.
Yep.
Right? He gets thrown in prison for something he didn't do, right? So he spends 2 years in prison, interprets dreams, does some stuff, finally gets pulled out of prison to tell Pharaoh's dreams or interpret Pharaoh's dreams, right? And then he did it in such a great way, and all these people still knew that God was with him in all of this.
Yep.
And you have to think too, like, if Joseph was consumed with thoughts of revenge, it would be really hard for God to work through him.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? Like, if we're living a life that is, about holding a grudge, or we have unforgiveness, or, any of those types of things, like, God is going to have a very hard time using us in anything, So if we have like those types of relationships, it's going to be difficult.
Because Joseph would have been so set on getting revenge, and like why would he even like take the time to interpret those? The baker and the cupbearer, like, why would he interpret their dreams? Like, that has nothing to do with his revenge that he wants to get.
Or even if his revenge was set on God. Like, I can't believe God would put me in this situation. And we get to that all the time. It's like, I can't believe God would allow this to happen to me with all the good things I've done. This is what God's done. God's turned his back on me. God forgot about me. And so I'm going to do everything in my life that doesn't have anything to do with God. I'm going to completely turn myself around, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And then that would have never put Joseph in the position that he's in. And he obviously had done the hard work of forgiveness, like well before all of this.
Definitely,
Who knows when it happened? It doesn't really talk about it, but he would have had to have done that so far in advance to this story that, and that's hard, dude. Like your whole family turns on you.
Yeah.
Like everyone just says.
And at this point, they think he's dead.
Yeah.
Right? They're just like,
they don't care.
He's gone.
Yeah.
So like for him, like at some point between him being thrown in a pit and him becoming second in command, right? Like he chose to choose peace rather than that revenge or that payback, right? And he kind of gave that up to God, and rather than turning from God, he leaned into God and said, okay, like I don't know what you're planning, like what your plans are, God, but like let's just he just went with the ride, right? And rather than seeking his own agenda.
And like we can see too, like they have another son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Jacob has another son.
Yep.
To replace Joseph, right?
Yeah, basically.
And like you would have either, we'll kind of see it. Like these brothers are babying him. Like now they realize their mistake. They realize what they did was so wrong, and I'm sure they have so much guilt that now not only is this son the new favorite to Jacob, but now he's a new favorite for all the brothers.
It's like, okay, well Joseph is gone, and this is like. This son can be everything that Joseph would have been.
We need to set this right. We need to do this right.
Yeah. So like imagine how he was basically left for dead, replaced, forgotten, and now it's like, oh well, this is the new Joseph. You
Right,
know? It's like-
exactly.
Yeah.
And so where we're at in the story now, so now Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, and so now he's second in command of all of Egypt, and a huge famine has struck the land of Egypt and Israel, right? And so Jacob sends his sons to Egypt to get food because they need food.
Yeah, because Joseph saw this because he was close with God, and he was he was interpreting the Pharaoh's dream. Like he basically saw this coming.
He knew it was
right?
coming, so he was able to prepare for it.
And he helped the Pharaoh like say, okay, let's put things in order. That's how people like store up their food. Like this is going to come for like years. So let's start preparing. Which again, he wouldn't have been able to do all that if he was so focused on revenge and not and turned his back on God. So crazy. Yeah. So he's faced with a decision. Okay, here like you said, his brothers are now coming to him. His family's coming to him for food. Right. They didn't know it was Joseph. They were just coming to Egypt because like, oh, there's food over there.
Yeah, because Joseph's in charge of all this.
Yep.
And the crazy thing is like there's a little payback here.
Oh yeah.
Like Joseph could have just been like, "Hey, I'm your brother," and then like, "Hey," But he didn't. I think he was making sure that they were his brothers.
Send them back and forth.
Yeah, he could have done all kinds of stuff. But what he did do, he threw the silver in the youngest brother's sack of food. So all the brothers had food, and they give him just a little bit, and then he tells the officers to go chase them down.
Yeah.
Go get them. They stole something.
He framed them.
He did.
Like he was framed.
Exactly. So there's a little bit. He's letting the tension build. He's scaring them a little bit.
You can tell he's still a little bit of a punk.
Yeah,
right?
He's still a little upset by all this. So he's like, I'm gonna get him back just a little bit, just enough.
Yeah.
So he scares them enough to where they have to bring him back, and the brothers are freaked out because they're like, if we don't come back with our youngest brother again, my dad will kill all of us.
Yeah, he's gonna die. They basically say he'll die.
yeah, he did. We are all dead.
Yeah.
We did this wrong the first time. Let's not do that again.
Yeah, exactly.
We know how this story plays out. So they come back again. They're freaked out, and we're jumping to the story, chapter 45, verse 1. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all those who stood by him. He cried, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. So he's standing in front of his brothers and finally is making himself known to them. And I'm sure they didn't believe him at first. Like, okay, whatever. This dude, the guy that we sold into slavery,
the dead guy?
Is now second in command of Egypt. Yeah, right. All right, cool. Verse 2, and he wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers couldn't answer, for they were dismayed at his presence. So Joseph said to his brothers, "Come near to me, please." And they came near. And he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourself because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are yet 5 years in which there will neither be plowing nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors." Dude, so not only is he just like, I forgive you, but he's like, God is using this.
Yeah.
Like, I hated the fact of everything that happened, but God used this. And God is allowing us to survive simply because I'm living for him regardless. I didn't let this grudge hold me down. I didn't let the unforgiveness keep me from it just consuming my mind, but instead I continue to follow after God, and because of that, I'm able to help be the answer and save, in all these years.
But so like imagine that though, like so he doesn't like dismiss that like what the brothers have done, right? He still acknowledges like, hey, like he basically says like what you did, it was wrong,
you shouldn't have done this.
You shouldn't have done it, right? But he's not saying it in a way to like create more anger or more frustration, more problems. He's basically saying like, hey, like what you did was wrong, but like don't be fearful of like my reaction, right? Because imagine like he called everyone out of the room.
Yeah,
he's in second in command, right? He told everyone to leave, and then he told them like, hey, come here, come closer.
Yeah, come here. I'm gonna kill all of you.
What do you think that they're thinking?
Dude,
you know what I mean?
For real.
Like,
because they didn't know it was Joseph, so they're freaking out. Like, I have no idea what's about to happen.
So he could have easily so they're fearful right now. They're like freaking out because like, whoa, like Joseph isn't dead and he's actually in charge of like everything.
Yeah.
So he's there. He's in the position easily to get payback. He's in the position easily to repay to them everything that they caused in his life, all the hurt, all the pain. But he uses that, like you said, as a time to tell him, hey, like I've been right with God. I put this. I chose peace, right, rather than revenge or hurt or pain, and wanting to get payback. I chose to choose peace with God, and now look at how He's used me, right? And now look at I'm in this place to where He's faced with a choice, right? Payback or peace, right? So his brother, the very brothers that caused him so much hurt and pain, are now coming to him for food to basically survive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and if he would have chose, payback, like we said earlier, in a relationship, it's done.
Yep.
But because of him choosing peace, now they can take a relationship and actually have one.
Yeah.
Like so often we see like relationships with families or siblings or friends or whatever, we see a constant go back and forth of like, keeping score.
Yeah.
Right? Of, this is how much you wrong me. I got to make sure that I'm equaling that score. But the problem is like, the other party doesn't see the equal a score, and so they have to one up, and then they one up, and they one up, and then you're just continuing hurting each other back and forth. And what is that?
Cycle of pain.
Yeah, just a cycle of broken relationships because you feel like you need to get them back, and they feel like they need to get you back, and then instead of just saying, stop with all of the payback, stop with all the revenge. It's crushing me, it's crushing you, and we just need to decide to choose peace. And a lot of times that's in families, where you're just bickering back and forth, and when it could just be ended.
Right, and that's the thing. It's like, so Joseph could have kept on this cycle of hurt and pain, and payback.
He thrown him in prison if he wanted to.
He could have done it. He could have killed him. Yeah, he could have
Yeah.
done anything he wanted, or just let him starve.
Yeah.
Right. But he chose, like, Joseph's choice of forgiveness wasn't only so that to put his brothers at ease and say, hey, like, don't worry, like I've forgiven you. I've sought out peace with God and with you. But that was like his way of freedom, right? That was freeing himself to say, okay, like, all this happened. Yeah, it happened. It was wrong, and he told them that it was wrong. But he said, like, I moved on from this. Like that was what freed himself. Like, think about it. He was a prisoner, so he probably had to free himself of those hurts, of those thoughts before he was even free from prison, right? He probably had forgiveness for his brothers and for all those people that hurt him along the way. He probably freed his mind and himself of those things a long time before he was actually free to be in the position to choose freedom.
Yeah, and we see Jesus talking about, finding freedom in forgiveness. Yeah. Like how much life is found because you forgive somebody. Yeah. Because when you don't forgive somebody, and we've talked about this before, like when you don't forgive somebody, that's usually your pain, right? And it's usually something that you hold on to and not the other person. Yeah. The person that hurt you isn't thinking about this. Right. You're the only one thinking about it because you can't forgive. You aren't letting go. You aren't finding freedom. Simply because you didn't look for peace. And so those are some things that you need to be doing as, we conclude this series is like, what to do when you don't know what to do. When you don't know what to do, we need to be pursuing peace instead of payback. So anytime there's that time where we feel like we need to be finding a way to get somebody back, we need to be finding and fighting to try to get peace instead. And instead of ruining the relationship or making it worse for ourselves or letting it consume our thoughts, we need to be fighting for peace. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah. When somebody hurts you, like it's hard to think of like I need to let this go.
And it sounds easy too to say, oh yeah, choose peace, not payback.
Yeah, it sounds pretty
sounds
too.
Super. It sounds good. But like the truth, like we don't know what you guys go through. We don't know like the hurt, the pain that someone has probably caused you in the past to create those feelings of desire for payback, right?
Dude, but sometimes you have to realize too is like, there's going to be hurt in this life where like payback. I mean, we shouldn't be going for payback, but peace might not. In the relationship might not be possible. If somebody hurts you over and over and over again and you're always forgiving them or you're always letting it go, like at some point you need to be like, okay, I need to move on with my relationship with new friends. Like if you have friends that are constantly hurting you, like you need to find some new friends.
Forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, you have to keep going back to the same negative things. Right. Forgiveness and freedom choosing peace could mean, okay, maybe I'm not going to hang out with them. I'm going to go this way.
And so, yeah, so that's the first thing when we're applying this is, we need to pursue peace instead of payback. And the second thing is when you pursue peace, you are actually fighting for that relationship.
Right.
Instead of, actually fighting in the relationship, you're fighting for the relationship and you want it to be better. And so, doing the hard work and finding peace, finding forgiveness, you're actually helping that relationship. And the last thing is you need to lay down your right to get payback, because that's the thought. I need to get the justice that I deserve.
Yeah.
I deserve to have payback for what was done.
Right. And if you truly choose peace, you're forfeiting that right. Yeah. You're saying okay, I don't care if I ever get paid, if that person ever, if justice is ever served for whatever happened, right? If that person never tells me I'm sorry, right, for what they did to me, you're forfeiting that right to be angry about those things, because it's okay, I'm choosing to move on from that, and I'm choosing peace and not payback, right? So we're kind of giving up that and saying, okay, let's move on, just like Joseph moved on, right? So I think those are three things that we can all apply in our lives, even if our situations are unique to ourselves. We can all choose peace when we don't know what to do, right? We can choose peace over payback, and I think we're going to see the freedom from that, and how we can actually grow and help relationships by choosing peace over payback.
For sure. Yep. All right, guys. It's been a good time. We're done.
See you guys.